If you want to know about how the CIA is thinking about the current war in Ukraine, you've come to the right place. Back on June 27th, the news broke that Russia had defaulted on its foreign debt for the first time since 1918. You know, when the whole Russian Revolution was going down. In English, this means that Russia's ability to borrow money internationally moving forward is threatened, which could kill their economy. But what you may not even realize is that this default didn't happen because they couldn't pay. Enter former CIA clandestine spy Andrew Bustamante. Andy's been watching the Russian debt like a hawk since the second these sanctions went into effect. And in this clip from my podcast with him, Andy's going to reveal 4 things. 1, the moral question we should all be asking ourselves in America. 2, the potential consequences of continuing our current sanctions against Russia. 3, an unexpected prediction about potential U.S. defense policy towards Russia. And most chillingly, 4, why Vladimir Putin may very well not care about mutually assured destruction, and why Andy doesn't either. So before we start, be sure to smash that subscribe button and toss the video a like. Here we go.
For people who listen to this in the future, for folks who are not aware of it right now, Russia's on the brink of defaulting on multiple debts, which would essentially just crush their economy.
Yes.
Okay. That was by design. That's why the U.S. and NATO put sanctions on Russia to penalize them for invading Ukraine. When you take that logical step, you're like, oh, that makes sense. That doesn't sound unreasonable, right? Now let's take it one step further. Russia can pay the debts. They have the money. But the reason they can't actually pay the debts is because the U.S. is not letting the banks that hold the money that Russia owns give the money back to Russia.
Remember back on February 24th when this happened?
Today's actions, we've now sanctioned Russian banks that together hold around $1 trillion in assets. We've cut off Russia's largest bank, a bank that holds more than 1/3 of Russia's banking assets by itself, cut it off from the U.S. financial system. That means every asset they have in America will be frozen.
The Biden administration then followed that up on February 28th by cutting off the Central Bank of Russia itself from accessing any of the country's U.S.-held assets, thus taking away the very funds they would need to pay off their debt on schedule.
So if we were to put that in everyday terms, you owe $5,000 on your credit card. Your credit card is with Wells Fargo Bank. Your money is also in Wells Fargo Bank. But Wells Fargo Bank has now decided that they're not going to let you access your money to pay your own credit card. Who's the bad guy in that situation? You or Wells Fargo?
Well, you're saying Wells Fargo decided on their own to do that.
Because of whatever. Because you got a DUI.
Bad. Yeah, then they're bad.
Then they're bad, right?
Yeah.
So who's the bad guy in this situation globally? Russia for invading Ukraine or the United States for freezing the money that Russia could use to pay their own credit card? It gets sticky.
Well, both are bad depending on the lens you're looking at it with, but also the argument, and it's fair, is that if Russia just didn't fucking do that, they wouldn't be dealing with this.
That's true too. But also, if the United States has the ability to destroy a country economically just by freezing its assets in American banks, what does that mean about every country in the world? Any country that has money in US dollars. Now, it's basically a nuclear weapon in the economic world. They can kill any country they want. If Russia falls, the message that's being sent to every other country is, we can crush you too. It's just like when we dropped Hiroshima on Japan. Or it's just like when we dropped little boy and I forget the name of the nuclear bombs. When we dropped them in Japan on Hiroshima and Nagasaki. We sent a message. Hey, we can crush you too.
I think about that a lot.
I see it.
I really do.
So what's fascinating to me is that, just like what you were saying, are we letting ourselves become so blind that we're doing the thing that we promised ourselves we would fight? And now we're basically becoming a one country deciding factor. We will just obliterate you. We will destroy you economically instead of with a bomb. And then even worse than that, what does that mean for the future U.S. economy when China and Canada and Mexico all wake up and they're like, ooh, maybe I don't want to have my money in the U.S. banks. Maybe I want a different option. And then our economy suffers because everybody else is like, I don't want.
But they're doing different? They're not doing different. But Canada just did it to their own people.
But what I'm getting at is if the U.S. has that kind of power over a country like Russia, every other country is going to be like, I don't want anybody to have that kind of power over me. Just like everybody diversified their supply chain out of China after COVID, people are going to start diversifying their investments out of the United States.
And so they're going to put their investments in China, though?
Or maybe they won't put it in China. Maybe they'll diversify it in 1,000 other places. Either way, our economy is the one that's going to suffer because that money is no longer in our coffers. It would be a different story if it weren't for the fact that Russia can pay their debts. They can pay their debts, but we're not letting them pay their debts because of the sanctions. It's so interesting because that is the kind of situation where I would worry about Putin being like, the game is lost. So let's just blow some people up.
Now, crazy as this may sound, Big Bad Vlad's no stranger to blowing up innocent people, even his own. In September 1999, with a 2% approval rating and a surefire presidential election loss on the horizon, then Russian Prime Minister and hopeful presidential candidate Putin ordered the bombings of 4 apartment buildings across 3 Russian cities. Over 300 Russian citizens died and thousands were injured. But Putin got what he wanted. He blamed the bombings on Chechnya, started a war, and suddenly won over the hearts and minds of the Russian people who saw him as a wartime leader and elected him president. Now, fun fact, in the wake of the bombings, 2 key figures emerged to blow the whistle on the unspeakable crimes Putin had committed upon his own people. Ex-FSB agent Alexander Litvinenko and American journalist David Satter. Unfortunately, the story got buried, Putin got away with it, and Litvinenko ended up dead. Satter, on the other hand, was fortunate enough to keep his life, but became the first and only Western journalist Putin's ever banned from post-Soviet Russia, before later appearing on this podcast to tell the tale. We'll save the rest of that one for a future clip.
Because it's hopeless. Like, they have everything they need. There really is, the only reason that they can't access their own money is because of an internal issue that already previously existed dating back to 2014 and before. Like, now, for me, it's getting a little bit crazy because now we're talking about regime change and destroying an entire country's economic future based off of what amounts to a domestic conflict.
And you're dealing with an irrational dictator-type human being who, you know, we all love mutual assured destruction, but radical narcissists who are backs against the wall with absolutely nothing to lose any reason they maybe had in the first place. And this is what I worry about.
And let's also, would it really be mutually assured destruction? That's what else is fascinating. If Russia, in desperation, launched nuclear missiles, let's take 2 scenarios. If they launched them at France and Germany, U.S. isn't going to launch. Why would the U.S. join a fight that doesn't involve American citizens?
But France and Germany could launch.
France and Germany could launch, right?
Yeah, same shit.
Right. But what happens if Russia decides to target the United States? Who's the source of their true economic problems? Is the United States going to return nuclear weapons and blow up a bunch of innocent civilians who are not their enemy?
If Russia did it to us, fuck yeah, they're gonna.
I don't think that's true. I think if
You're kidding me.
Nope. I think that, honestly, in the Cold War days, that would have happened.
Luckily, it didn't. But given the Cuban Missile Crisis, somewhere JFK's rolling over in his grave as he's forced to agree with a CIA spy on something. Also, side note, guys, thank you for hanging with the video to this point. If you're enjoying the clip, please be sure to share it with your friends, and if you can, leave a tip down below to help the show continue to get great guests like this. Furthermore, stay tuned for more info coming later in this video about my 2 full podcast episodes with Andy. Thank you.
Because then it was 2 equal countries.
You think that if Vladimir Putin sent a nuclear bomb and the United States blew up, killed, I don't know, hundreds of thousands of people, you don't think that the U.S. would send a nuke back to Russia?
I'm not convinced. Because right now, there already is a massive war, an economic war happening. And I believe that in the United States, we would at least have run the calculation that if Putin bombs the United States, there is nobody in the world who wouldn't agree to every one of us going in, taking Vladimir Putin and owning Russia and giving all of Russia to the United States. So why drop a bomb? Why drop a bomb and destroy our own future land and wealth opportunities? Because now we have to deal with a crater in the middle of Washington, D.C.
You're saying use it as an opportunity and do the same thing through another lens, but make it more advantageous for the United States. Okay, I would believe that. I would. But point being, Putin would still lose, to start this whole thing, he loses all logic and reason, mutual assured destruction, boop, out the window. He doesn't care about that anymore. He's like, fuck you. Boom.
Right. It's not logic and reason. I don't think he's losing logic and reason. I think that is the logical conclusion he would come to. It's the same thing that when you pin an animal against the wall, is the animal losing all logic and reasoning when it bites you? No. It's pinned. It is in life or death. It is in fight or flight. And it has lost the option for flight. The only option left is fight.
But he also knows, here's the difference. The animal against the wall can bite you, and perhaps it can then get away. He knows, he should know. This is why I say he loses logic and reasoning. If he does the bomb, I mean, he's dead either way. He's done. He's done. Like, he will not, he's done.
It's the done either way part, though. That's what makes it a moot point.
And you know what else could make it a moot point? The fact that this dude might literally have terminal fucking cancer. In recent videos released by Russian state media, Vlad Vodka's face looks puffier than the Pillsbury Doughboy, his mannerisms have lower energy than a dying battery, and homie's holding on to tables like he's about to blow away. No pun intended. And this isn't just some random false hope speculation either. Academy Award winner and Putin documentarian Oliver Stone recently appeared on the Lex Friedman podcast and casually revealed that Stalin Jr. already had the big casino once before. So could this be the deadly return? Who knows? But if the end is in fact near for the Russian short man, hopefully he's not looking to take some of us with him.
If he stays in power of a country that's economically destroyed by the United States sanctions, or if he stays in a country that launches a nuclear missile at 5 major Western countries, he's done. So if you're done either way, how do you go out? Do you go out fighting or do you go out quietly? Someone like Putin does not have a history of going out quietly.
That's what I worry about.
I don't worry about it because we have a choice. Like, the United States has a choice. They don't have to continue down the path where they're essentially economically bombing Russia.
But they're going to, and you're not the guy in charge, and you can't.
I'm not the guy in charge, and I can't say one way or the other. But I can say they have a choice not to.
Right. So you do have to worry about it because you have no control over the situation.
I don't have to worry about it, man. I can go to another country. You know who's not going to get bombed? Albania. Georgia, Turkey, Botswana, beautiful country. New Zealand. What do I have to worry about?
Thanks for watching the clip, guys. Would love to hear your reactions down in the comments below. And if you haven't already, be sure to like the video and subscribe to my channel. And here is the link to Andy's first full conversation on the Trendify with Julian Dorey podcast, where we post an episode once a week, every week.